this is the most cost-effective way to expose your brand to your community. It's always marketing for you 24/7, 365.
Welcome to the Brave Home Service Pro podcast, where we're all about helping blue-collar business owners like you to unlock your inner business beast. I'm your host, Lee Miller, a seasoned home service and construction industry veteran turned business coach. In this podcast, I'll teach you how to break free from your own limitations, gain the knowledge, tools, and mindset to succeed, and guide you as you trailblaze your way to the top of your industry. My system is simple: set bold goals and take brave action to achieve them. Together, we'll build your business into its full potential. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and join our Facebook group for more tips and tricks to boost your business using the link in the show notes. Now let's dive into the Brave Home Service Pro podcast. Your journey to business greatness begins right here. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I am joined here today by Javier, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for a company called Wrapmate, one of the biggest suppliers of graphics installation in the US with over 2,000 locations. Javier, welcome to the show. Good to have you on, man.
Thank you for having me, Lee. Really excited about this interview, so it should be exciting.
Yeah, we're stoked to have you. And this is something that we continually get asked for over and over and over again by our guys. You know, when should I wrap my truck? You know, what should it look like? What's best practice? What's not good? What works? What doesn't? So we're actually really excited to do this podcast episode because we've been asked for it so many times.
Yeah, those are a lot of common questions that we embrace quite a bit, and our team has really worked on almost kind of being the experts, not just to try to be that expert, but to really just guide the business owners to understand the value behind it, and this is the kind of best way to approach this. So yeah, totally see where these guys are coming from with these kind of questions.
Yeah, and it is a big topic, right? And obviously it's a big investment for a lot of guys, but I don't think a lot of people understand just how impactful a wrap can be for your business, especially if you are more of a service or construction business, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the impact behind it, I mean, like the best way we kind of say it, you know, from the sales side of things is that your next best customer is going to probably be at the house that you're parked in front of doing a project right now.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, we hear this a lot from our customers where they're doing a job at a neighbor's house or whatnot. And then people start coming by and they're like, what are you doing here? And like, they think they're in trouble, for instance, because they might be parked in the wrong place or whatever, but comes to find out that they're like, hey, when you're done with their project, can you come over to my house and give me a quote for this next thing? And so, you know, the beauty about that is that it's just a mobile billboard. It's, you know, something that we always kind of say is something that is really unique and different when it comes to just kind of positioning and promoting your brand.
Absolutely. I would 100% agree. I used to work for a company called Wild One Day Painting. They own other brands like 1-800 Junk, Shack Shine, You Move Me. And I'm talking, you know, hundreds of $1 million businesses and every single franchise needs vehicles. And our wraps, man, the return on investment on a vehicle wrap was just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, I have seen some honestly really bad wraps in my time too, and we're going to unpack this in a little bit. But I do want to get your perspective on what makes a good wrap, what doesn't. But when it comes to, I think you nailed it on the head. It's about owning the neighborhood. If you're going somewhere, you're doing yourself a disservice by not making every opportunity to let the neighbors know that you're going to be there too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's the piece that it's really challenging because, you know, there's a lot of great advantages with, say, digital marketing, social media. It's really opened up some opportunities, but this is an area that is very, very just challenging in my opinion, because it's right there and then in a local neighborhood where you're getting impressions that, you know, you can't really get sometimes when you're running ads on Facebook or on LinkedIn or whatnot.
Mm. Yeah, and I like that you use the word impressions there. Just for the people who are listening, who come from more of that blue collar background, like what is an impression?
So an impression is whenever, it doesn't necessarily mean that someone saw everything that you have, but it's just that, let's say that you go to Google, for instance, and you're typing in, you know, HVAC provider in Denver, just as an example. So an impression is going to be that you show up for those searches. And you might be in the page of like the second or third or fourth page, but like you have to at least have the opportunity to where you could be an impression to your prospective, searchers that are looking for your brand or your product. And then what you would necessarily, you know, try to do like from a SEO standpoint is try to get ranked up a little bit higher. So you get more visibility, more clicks. So an impression is just that like someone kind of saw it or had an opportunity to see it. And so that's kind of what you're looking for from a marketing perspective. It also helps you understand if you are getting the right kind of market penetration. From like digital marketing, for instance, we always look at what's called CPM, cost per thousand impressions.
Right.
And so essentially, that is just letting us know as a digital marketer to understand like, okay, we are at least getting the right type of eyeballs on our service or product or whatever we're promoting. And it's getting impressions. Now, what is the cost of those impressions? Because that's where, things really kind of get kind of crazy.
Yeah. And that's a hard metric to measure, right? Like, what does that naturally equate to? But when you start to put your numbers together and you see, well, every time I get 10,000 impressions, this leads to 5 sales. This leads to 8, whatever that number of actual sales are. You're starting to go into more of those advanced metrics that you can't really put a number on, but you can use that data to make your next marketing decisions, right? Like we're a big proponent of do more of what works and less of what doesn't work. So every month, assessing those numbers and saying, hey, what does that actually mean and how can I use that?
Yeah. And, the thing that's tough is that, digital marketing, like on Facebook, just as an example, since a lot of blue collar folks are probably using that as a platform to advertise, it's great. Like you can see those numbers instantaneously, but because there are more people on that platform and there are more marketers on there, more businesses trying to buy ad space, it gets more expensive. 10 years ago, the cost of an impression on Facebook was pennies on the dollar, and it's one of those where I wish I would have been able to put more money into marketing my brand and my business back then than today, where I'm paying 2, 3, 4, 5 times that right now. And so, we commonly see, from our side and other businesses paying anywhere from $10 to $20 for every 1,000 impressions.
Yeah.
Now, does that equate to new business? Not necessarily. That just means that you got someone to see your product or your brand, or hopefully as they're scrolling through, they're like, okay, I saw that van or I saw that company or whatever it is.
Right.
That's kind of the biggest challenge.
Of course. Yeah. And it's almost in that multi-tactic market, and it's part of a system rather than just a standalone technique for any marketing objective that you've got. If you do take any tactic, they need to feed into each other. Like you said, it's seeing the brand online, then going, oh, wait, I know those guys because I've seen the van rolling by and it's all wrapped up and it looks good. And, oh, look, I got a door hanger, or, oh, I saw a lawn sign, and it's about leading up to that sale. I love that you mentioned that. So if we were looking at, kind of holistically, how much does vehicle wraps complement your existence? Is it more of a complementary marketing system to have your vehicle wrapped, or is it a standalone, you're going to drive a lot of business just from this tactic?
I consider it as 2 things. So let's kind of take a step back really quick. Back in the 80s and 90s, everyone was in Yellow Pages, and that was just kind of what you did. Even in the early 2000s, then the internet kind of became what it is, what we probably remember of the early 2000s, where it was all about Google and getting your website up and all this other stuff. And now we're kind of in a social media age where you kind of already have the website, you have a social media page, you have some followers, you have reviews from Google or from Yelp, or you have all these things that are all working for you. And if you don't have those things, that's like you didn't have your ad or your listing in the Yellow Pages in the 80s and 90s. Like you don't exist essentially. So I consider that as just like the norm. Like that's just part of operating as a business. Mm-hmm. Now, do you still run ads on social media? Of course. Do you still have a website? Of course. Do you still reply to Google reviews? Of course. You should be doing all those things. Those are normal business practices because it shows that you're part of the community. When you start putting a wrap on your vehicle, that's like almost icing on the cake in a sense, where you're taking things a little bit a step further. Maybe you're running more targeted ads, for instance, on Google or Facebook, and you hired an agency to kind of help you with these sort of things. Like that's like taking like, all right, I'm going to invest in this, mm-hmm. and I'm banking on this kind of return. That's kind of how we look at vehicle graphics for any kind of HVAC home service type provider. And so what we want people to understand is that it's a complementary product. It's a complementary avenue Do we think you should have it? Of course. Like, it's just no different from a website. But the thing that you're missing out is not just the impressions, but the opportunities and the phone calls that you'll be getting. Because if you're sitting in front of your, a project at a house, those are some eyeballs that you missed. If you're at a light, those are some eyeballs that you missed. Some folks say like, well, I can't see something that's, 1,000 feet away from me. Of course. And you can't see something that's on the page of 10 on Google. So like the thing is that you're trying to target your closest person that is interested in your product or services. Hence why you want to try to be in the first page of Google. You want to have great reviews. You want to do all these, smart things. That's why you wrap your vehicle. And it's so different from people saying like, well, you can't see the ad whenever it's moving. Of course, you can't see it very well. But what you can see is whenever it stops or when people start chasing you and they're like, that looks interesting. The other part of it also puts you as a professional. And that's the part that I don't think a lot of folks understand is that, we all want to grow by referrals. I get that. And I agree. Referrals are just remarkable. But can you project on referrals? Can you say this month I'll be getting 8 referrals? Mm-hmm. You can't, because it's all based off of who wants to refer you on the job that you did. But what you can do is that like on your website or your ads, you can kind of start kind of projecting, and the same thing can happen with your van or your truck that you have wrapped. If you know that you're out in the community, 7 days a week doing projects or 5 days a week doing projects, and you're getting phone calls that are kind of uptick, that you can start kind of projecting that on an ongoing basis. So it gives you more predictability for your business.
Yeah, it's one of those reliable channels, and this is what it's all about, where you could have, if your solo strategy is to post, punch your credit card in online and just rely on your social media ads, you're going to get, consistent results coming back when you start to measure the data. But it's more about, well, if I need 10 leads this month, I'm going to get 2 from my vehicle graphics. I'm going to get 2 referrals from past clients. I'm going to get, 5 leads from the website and whatever. It's about piecing it together, right?
Correct. And that's exactly the best way to do it. I mean, like I've ran a company for 10 years. It was a personal training and martial arts studio. And, we were really, really good at our just digital marketing in general and how we did stuff. But there would be months where things were a little tight, but you did all these activities to help kind of supplement the areas that you might be lacking. So, for the home service providers that are kind of like, thinking this is tough, this is an investment, this is expensive. I get it. I've been in those shoes before, but it's all about using a multi-channel approach versus just banking on one thing. Like I grow my business by referrals only. That's great, but that's an unpredictable channel that you're just hoping that someone is going to refer to you next time. Yeah. And as I mentioned before, the professionalism piece is as a consumer, we want to, like, as a buyer, we want to do business with someone that we trust. And so when we see a van that matches their uniform, that matches their website, that matches their social media platform, we start piecing things together and be like, okay, I trust you. Yeah. But if I see Billy showing up in a, pretty beat up van and then doesn't have a uniform or anything, doesn't have a brand that they represent, their website was from 1990 based off of Yahoo and stuff like, and then their email address is like, at a Hotmail, and I'm not knocking if you have a Hotmail email, but I'm just simply saying like, all of a sudden you're like, all right, this seems a little sketchy and I might be taken for a ride right now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, there's a direct correlation between the level of professionalism and trust, right? Like how you appear to your customers. And maybe there is a customer for the guy who rocks up in the Metallica t-shirt, in the rusty old van because they, that's their budget and that's what they want. Yeah. But if you want to be a premium business, if you want to portray yourself as a premium brand and charge premium pricing, which is what everybody wants to do, well, I mean, there is such a thing as value proposition. It's not just the work that you do, it's the whole experience of working with your company. And how you actually show up for yourself. I've literally lost clients because I've rocked up in the van, even though it's been wrapped and there's paperwork all over the dashboard. And the guy said, no, because the way your van looks and the dashboard and all the Tim Hortons cups or the Dunkin' Donut cups, he's like, no, I don't want to see what kind of work you do. And I'm like, wait, hold on a minute. Like that makes a difference.
It's crazy. I mean, I've never heard of something like that, but at the end of the day, like you can't blame the consumer because they're investing not just in you doing the job, but they're investing in like you playing the part, you know? And if you don't play the part, but you can do the job, like, well, you're going to miss out on some and you're going to probably get, but if you play the part and you do the job, you're probably going to be going, batting 1,000. And at that point, that's where things get real crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely bang on, man. A really good example of that is the moving company that we ran called You Move Me. You'll have one in your local town more than likely. But nobody likes to move. No one likes moving house, and everybody is skeptical of movers, right?
Oh, 100%.
We got 2,600 5-star reviews from people saying that they loved the experience, and it's got nothing to do with us picking up the boxes and putting them in the van. It was the van's rolled up, they're clean, they're wrapped, they look professional. We bring the client a coffee. The guys that jump out the van are like college guys who are football players. They're all jacked. They're wearing nice uniform. It's everything else outside of the service, which allows us to, one, charge almost double what anyone else is charging, because it gives you it portrays we're going to be the least headache and we're going to be the most convenient and we're going to do everything we possibly can to be the most professional. And it's got nothing to do with the moving side.
Yeah, and that's the big trade-off, I think, and I agree. Like they all build off of each other, so it's just another complementary product, if you will.
Absolutely. Javier, if you could explain in 30 seconds roughly why a vehicle wrap is one of the most important marketing tactics for a contractor, what would you say?
So this is the most cost-effective way to expose your brand to your community. So, what you would probably pay for, maybe let's call it a half wrap, roughly $2,000 to $2,500 to one-time cost. Okay. You don't pay this again. All right. If you're running ads, as soon as you turn off those ads, you no longer exist to the world. All right. This one, it's always marketing for you 24/7, 365. And so it's a one-time cost where after you get your first customer off of it, it's just gravy at that.
Absolutely. Do you have any examples of a time where you've had a customer who's had their vehicle wrapped and same day they came back and said, I just landed a super high profile, like how often does that happen?
It's almost all the time. So we had one customer that wrapped they're a tire service company. So it's a mobile tire service company. They had a truck and a trailer wrapped. It was a really, really cool design. So it was I think a 2 or 3 day project, because this was like a full wrap on both of the trailer and the truck. And so he came back 3 days later, but even before he got to his vehicle, he was getting phone calls from people saying, hey, I just saw your truck, parked out at so-and-so. Can you tell me a little bit more about your services? I think he said he got 5 or 6 calls before he showed up to his vehicle. So the thing was already, getting him leads before he was even driving around providing services. That's one example of essentially literally it happening instantaneously is the best way to kind of put it.
Yeah, that's insane. And I have seen it. I've seen it myself, from parking up to go grab a coffee and coming out and having a lead standing waiting for me to ask for a business card.
I mean, I'm guilty of it. I could be going to the grocery store and all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I did need that, that service that my wife has been nagging me about, and I need to find somebody. And all of a sudden I see someone's vehicle in a parking lot. I was like, okay, this looks legit. You've got a nice truck. It's wrapped. I don't care what year it is, but it looks nice. Yeah. It's wrapped. I'll take a picture of it. And then I'll go online and do some quick little research on it just to make sure it's a legit company. I'm like, oh, wow. And then I'll look like the hero to my wife whenever I say hey, I hired the so-and-so contractor that you've been asking me about for the past 3 months, Yeah. So
it was convenience. You were just in the right place at the right time, and so was he. So was the contractor.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that you said that, you can make a vehicle look brand new with a wrap, because we've had, there was one summer where we just needed another production vehicle for a little bit, and we bought this really old beat up Honda Odyssey, a little caravan from Facebook Marketplace, and it was beat to hell. And we put a wrap on it, and that thing looked brand spanking new. It looked amazing. It's crazy. They say you can't polish a turd, but I mean, you can with a vehicle wrap.
As long as the vehicle is free of rust, we can pretty much essentially wrap almost any kind of vehicle. That's the biggest thing that we try to tell our prospects that are shopping around is that, our website's very convenient. It gives you, the opportunity to kind of like figure out your year, make, model, trim, whatever. But there are some vehicles that we don't have on there because they're so old. And so it's not that we don't wrap them. It's just we don't have them in our website. But what we explain to customers is that, hey, as long as this is like free of rust and the dents, if you have some dents on there, aren't like, just like indented to where like you can't put anything on it, we can definitely, make this thing look like it's a brand new puppy. And people have been really excited about just seeing their older vehicles, especially with when you can't even get new vans and trucks, or you're waiting 6-12 months to get a new ProMaster or a new Transit, they can find something on Marketplace. They're like, okay, I can turn this around and start making money tomorrow. It's great to kind of, allow you to turn these things and make them look new. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is why it should be one of those main tactics for smaller guys who are maybe just getting into their industry. Because if you're looking for a high return on investment, that vehicle wrap is it. I would almost say that vehicle wrap over other marketing initiatives where it's online and unknown what the return is going to be. That vehicle wrap will be a good foundation to build your marketing efforts off of.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what we tell folks as well too is that they can start with a smaller investment. Like they can go with something that's like roughly $1,200, and that's going to be what we call and package it as like is spot graphics is the best way to kind of put it. And this is going to have your logo, your phone number, some of your services, maybe a QR code, your social media handles, like very basic, and so that it at least has that. And then maybe after 2 years or 3 years, you're like, okay, I'm going to upgrade my vehicle. I'm going to upgrade my brand. And so I want to go with a 3/4 wrap, or I want to go with a half wrap. That's a great way of doing it. But you don't have to think that you have to wrap the entire thing literally from bumper to bumper into the roof. Like you can start small, and then you can just, as your business grows, you can invest into something a little bit bigger as your brand improves.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I'm going to jump into coach mode for a second for the people who are listening to this podcast episode, because one of the systems that I had with my painting company was, when I was mapping out my budget for the year, October, November, I'm building the budget for the next year, I would always set myself these goals that when I hit certain revenue points, I was allowed to reward myself with marketing. That was what I was allowed to do. And I always had it. First year, it was like when we hit, 100 grand in revenue, we're going to go and wrap the second vehicle. Or, I would actually set it as a milestone or a goal that I could chase after and reward myself. And hey, listen, we love Rolexes, we love golf clubs, we love jet skis. But I'll tell you what, you put that money into a wrap and reward yourself with that, you're going to get a major dopamine hit. Feeling like a successful entrepreneur, there's no other feeling like seeing your fleet sitting next to each other, all wrapped up and looking glorious. I
love that. I mean, that's a great way of kind of like setting those milestones, because I'm a very disciplined kind of like, hit these goals kind of like approach. And I never thought of it like that. I mean, I know as I ran my business back then, like there were different steps or stages, like, okay, I'm going to put more money into these ads, or I'm going to upgrade my website, or I'm going to do these things. Right. And it's one of those where I love how you kind of looked at it differently from, I'm going to wrap my next vehicle, or I'm going to invest that, but you are budgeting, you're setting a set amount of budget of what your top line revenue is towards marketing, knowing that the ROI out of that could be 7x, 8x, 10x, so that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just a little trick, right? Like you need to, as much as we want to take the rewards out of the business and, start cashing in on all that hard work that we've put in, you need to ask yourself, hey, do I want this small reward now where I get to buy that, set of golf clubs? Or would I rather reinvest that back into the business that's going to, help me grow more in the next coming years? And I'll take that bigger paycheck in 5 years.
Yeah. I call that, in work now at this point, I call that brand equity. It's investment into it's just no different from your home, where you could sell your home, once a year, every couple of years. But like if you hold on to it and you keep making improvements here, and you fix the backyard and you fix the bedroom and the bathroom and the kitchen, that's just equity into your home that you're going to be getting 10 years down the road. And when you're doing that for your business, that's just brand equity that you're building, so that all of a sudden, like you create a brand that it may not be Nike, it may not be Amazon, but it's enough to where like you guys are the HVAC guys in my neighborhood, or you guys are the plumbers in my neighborhood that I see all the time. That's brand equity that you can't put a dollar amount on that. Like that is almost invaluable. Because it all of a sudden becomes like just a normal part of just business.
Yeah. And that's it. There's going to be marketing tactics that and I would class it as like it's still one of those older fashioned marketing tactics that you can use, but there's a reason why everybody still does it. It's because it freaking works, Yep.
Totally agree. 100%.
And I was just doing a boot camp class there before we jumped on with 4 students in the boot camp class, and they asked more about the design. That seems to be one of the biggest questions that keep coming up is, how should I design this? I don't know what good looks like. And if beauty is in the eye of the beholder, what would you say is like a good guideline for people to follow when it comes to building a wrap that's going to last and a wrap that's going to maximize those impressions?
Yeah, so that's a very common question we get whenever folks are coming in. So let's talk about the product first, and then we'll talk about the actual design of it. So when you invest in a vehicle wrap, you want to make sure that you're using premium vinyl, and not all vinyl is made equal. Okay, so people shop around, and you're going to probably find some cheap providers that aren't doing a couple of things. They're either using a lesser quality vinyl, and then they're not using what's called laminate. A laminate is a protective film on top of the actual graphics, and it's going to allow for the graphics to last longer, to not to fade. But the other piece of it is that if you leave, like, let's say that you're in Arizona and it gets just beat down by the sun, but you don't have laminate on there, that thing essentially is going to melt onto the vehicle. Okay. And then what's going to happen is that you might have saved some money at the beginning. You probably saved yourself $1,000. Great. Now good luck trying to take those graphics off, 5 years from now, because it's baked on there, and you're going to be paying about $100 per hour to have that removed. Okay. Or you're going to hope that you can actually sell this thing with the graphics on there. And who knows if someone wants to promote your business whenever, they want to get another vehicle. So my point is that you want to invest in quality. And so you want to compare apples to apples. And so, at our company at Wrapmate, we only use 3M film. So we have an exclusive agreement with 3M. We love their product. We consider them as the number one vinyl in the world. Okay. And so they'll be able to work with 3M, who essentially makes anything that sticks. Okay. Let's just put it that way. We know that we are standing next to a brand and a product that stands behind what they create, but more importantly, it's going to last. So these graphics are going to last anywhere from 5 to 7 years. And so that's the piece that we want to ensure that you're looking at. So when you're shopping around looking for graphics and you're shopping pricing, because we understand it's an investment, don't just go for the lowest cost. It's no different from a home service provider. We've all done that, where you call 3 people, you get the lowest one, and it's like a buy cheap, buy twice, kind of thing. And we're trying to avoid that. So that's the first piece is make sure that you're using good quality vinyl. Again, we use 3M. Make sure that you have laminate on there whenever you're getting your quote on there as well too. If they don't have laminate on there, it's essentially going to be one of those where you're paying the price for it. The next piece, when it comes to design, here's how I kind of look at this, is that you should trust the experts that do it all the time. So I'm not an HVAC person. I'm not a plumber or electrician. So when I hire somebody and someone says, hey, this is how I would do it, I'm like, look, man, you're the expert. I trust you. You tell me what needs to be done to make this thing work. I'm not going to go in here and tell you, well, I would run the line this way instead, or I'd run the casing over here this way if I was you. I didn't do that. Like, I didn't go to school for that kind of stuff. So I'm going to trust the ones that actually understand this. And so we have designed, and when I say this, several thousand wraps on an ongoing basis. Like, we're designing hundreds of wraps every single month. Okay. And so what's really nice about that is that we know what actually looks good. And so our designers are incredible. They customize everything. So you can go to them with some sort of ideas like, hey, this is my logo. This is my brand colors. This is my phone number. I'm kind of thinking of something like this. Excellent. We ask a few questions, and then we start kind of mocking up some design ideas to kind of give you an idea of like, hey, is this kind of what you're thinking about? Is this what you're looking for? And so the key things, obviously, you want to have like your logo. You want to have your phone number, your website. QR code is critical, especially after COVID. I mean, essentially, that QR code existed for 15 years, but it took a pandemic and 10 years before it kind of took off. But got to have a QR code on there. You got to have social media stuff on there, like just your basic things like you would have on a business card. But the other part is that you want to make sure that you leverage the places that are going to have the most exposure. So if you're going to have the back of the van is going to be kind of like your biggest surface area. So you want to have that as opportunities to put your contact information. If you have an F-250, for instance, leverage the tailgate, leverage the sides. So where you have the most surface area, you want to have like kind of that contact information. And then just kind of let the designer that actually have done this hundreds and hundreds of times, okay, per month, to kind of put together some really great ideas. Now, if you want some inspiration, share them. We want to see that. And so that's kind of what I would say is that don't go in there saying that you have to be the expert in designing. You're not. Like, just be the expert on your brand, and that's it. And then let the designers do what their magic is. Yeah.
I trust the experts, right? Absolutely. Yeah. I do usually add this in when I have a client that's asking me about, wrapping their vehicle and what should be included, because it's one of those things that, when's the next time you're going to get a chance to wrap a vehicle again? Or when are you going to have the cash to wrap another vehicle again if you screw it up the first time,
Yeah.
And typically the advice I will give them, as I'll say, is if you're going for a full wrap, which is what I had on every single one of my vehicles, Sprinter vans with big high sides that you can get a lot of real estate on.
Yep.
Typically I always say, I'm like, let your wrap tell a story about the service that you provide,
That's a good way of putting it. I like that.
Yeah, if you're looking at the graphics that you're putting on the side and, you've got the buddy there in the Metallica t-shirt smoking a cigarette, it's probably not going to tell a very good story about the type of business that you are, But for our company, While One Day Painting, which there's not many people painting houses in one day, and they always ask, how do you do it? Well, our graphic was a group of painters all in uniform, happy, smiling, all painting one room together. And that tells the story. Hey, if we can get one room painted, or if we can get a bigger room painted with 2 people or 3 people or 4 people, we're going to put them in there, and that's how it's going to happen. So there's no kind of confusion about how we actually perform the service. Same with our moving company. If you look at those big 25 to 30 foot box trucks, the graphics on the side are 2 burly, good-looking movers, jacked, veins popping on the side, with carrying a sofa with a family sitting on it, looking like they're having a great time, right?
That's perfect.
Yeah, tell a story, right? Tell a story with your branding.
I haven't heard of that way of kind of looking at it, but I agree with you. Like, if you're able to do that, because I'm a big proponent in storytelling, especially as a marketer. Like, it's so critical, and that's how, if you think about it, it's how the human race has evolved, is by stories. Yeah, absolutely. And if you're able to do that with graphics on your van or your truck or whatever, by all means, try to do that. The one thing I would probably tell folks is, like, what you don't want to do is you don't want to list everything that you do in the world. You want to be concise so that people don't get confused. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of, there's a marketer called Donald Miller. He wrote a book called Building a Story Brand. Mm-hmm. And his biggest thing is like the grunt test. Is like, if someone goes to your website and they can't figure out what you do within 5 seconds, then essentially a caveman couldn't figure it out. So therefore they're going to start using more energy and they have to think more. So then whenever they have to think more, they're not going to make a decision. So they're just going to move on. But if they can look at your website and they're like, oh, you do plumbing in Castle Rock. Excellent. So then they know exactly what you do. And the same thing what you're saying for graphics of, like, 2 burly guys moving a couch with a family, like, oh, you move, furniture. Even if there's people there, you'll do it. And It's just a really easy way of kind of telling that story. And I love that. Yeah,
absolutely, man. Yeah. And like I said, it's one of those ones that if you're going to jump in and you're going to invest $5,000 in a full wrap, you're not going to have that opportunity again for a long time until you either buy another vehicle and have to wrap it.
Yeah.
But you should be doing your design. One, make it clean, right? Make it understandable, but also design that wrap for the future business that you're going to own. When you wrap your next vehicle in 3 years, are you going to wrap it exactly the same, or has your business model changed? Yep. Maybe you do have a shopping list of all of the services that you provide, but maybe in 3 years you won't do 3 of them anymore. Do you really still want to have that on the back of the vehicle, right?
Yeah. No, I love that. Awesome.
Yeah, you can't be everything to everybody.
Exactly.
So I typically say to my clients, I'll say, pick your 3 most profitable products that you sell and the ones that you do well and that you can build your whole brand off of. If you do extra stuff on the background, great for you. Just pick the 3 things, the 3 jobs that you actually want to do. Maybe you are a plumber but you don't want to do service calls. Maybe you only want to do new build construction, right? Like, and putting new toilets in. Great, put that on your vehicle, right? Maybe you're a HVAC technician who only wants to work with air conditioners, right? Put that on there. Keep it concise and actually use it to target your ideal demographic.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's very smart.
Yeah. Is there one feature that you think that you would never leave off of a vehicle wrap for yourself, but everybody does? Is there like a secret kind of hack to it that nobody's thinking about?
Oh man, that's a good one. I mean, I wouldn't say that there's a feature that other folks are missing. I would say that expanding on how to use the QR code is probably the piece that is missing. Because some people think like, well, I have to have it go to a website. Actually, you can have the QR code go to a phone number.
Right.
So that whenever they scan it and they click on that, little button, it calls you directly. So like that's something that it's almost a hack, if you will. And then you can start, or if you want to say, hey, I want to see how well my wrap actually performs as far as compared to my website or calls. Great. Send them to a landing page that's specific. And then you do tracking on that so that anytime someone scans that QR code, it's a unique URL. So it could be like, myplumbingbusiness.com/van or whatever it is. Just as an example, but that way you can do some tracking behind that. And if you have a lead capture form on that page, then you can actually see like, okay, this not only did it get me an impression, but it also got me a lead. So there's different ways in how you can kind of approach it. You don't have to just think of like, well, I have to send them to the homepage. No, you can really start, getting very granular, especially if you have several vehicles that you're wrapping for your company. If you have one or two, personally, I would just make it go straight to your phone, because if you're the only person that's answering those phone calls, what you don't want is you don't want someone to kind of like go to the website and be like, oh, I'll get to them later.
Yeah.
What if you had them go straight to your phone and you call them and be like, hey, is this your cell phone? Great. I'm in the middle of a project. I'm going to call you when I get done and we'll schedule this. And so you've got your lead right there.
Yeah. Even better if you're scanning that QR code and it's taking you straight to someone who's maybe there as a closer on the other, or an appointment setter or something like that, where it's going straight to their phone and they're just closing that deal and turning it into an estimate, and also qualifying your lead for you in the process.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So there's different ways in how it can be leveraged for sure.
Yeah. Speed to lead is kind of crucial when it comes to home services and contractors, because there is so much choice. For every one contractor, there's 5 waiting behind you to take that lead if you don't want it. So you do need to set up these systems where it is fast turnover, at least to the point where you get to decide, do I want this job or do I not want this job?
Exactly. It's something that we say a lot in our company. I mean, even though we're a national company with over 2,000 installers in our network all over the country, we talk about, and we generate thousands of leads a month. We talk about speed to lead all the time. And it's something that our sales team is very aware of, something that we kind of push with our team. We've got the right messaging correctly to allow our team to move quickly and that sort of stuff and get hand raisers. But it's, if someone's calling, they're calling the next person if you don't pick up. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, and you better hope they don't walk by a van with a QR code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. I was going to ask, because I've asked you like, hey, what's a secret hack or what's the good stuff that we should have in our design? What would be the biggest mistake that contractors make when wrapping their vehicles, or the most common one that you see?
I would say the first one is probably listing everything that they do, because it becomes overwhelming. And I get why, but I would lean towards what you were saying, like pick your top 3 and promote those top 3 things. Mm-hmm. I would say, because some folks, they want to like, well, I do this and I do that. And that's awesome. I would say another one is probably not really leveraging all the other channels that they could probably be and get that kind of traffic. So what I mean by this is like, they might be brand new, but they may not have like a business profile on Facebook, and they may not have something on Instagram. Like, get those things lined up so that whenever you get your wrap done, you can have those things so that people can see the work that you've been doing, because these are going to be free channels for you. So I would almost say like, get a few things lined up to get your business going. Like, you can get a website up and running pretty quickly. And there's different, Wix is a great product to use just to get yourself going. you can get an Instagram page going pretty quickly, or a business page and a Facebook page going. Like, get those social media handles going as quickly as you can and have them ready to go so that they're going to be in your rep. Even if it's not going to be a big full rep, doesn't matter. Have those ready to go, because what happens is that sometimes people are like, well, I need the wrap now, but then I don't have this. Digital assets, digital things, that's quick and easy and free. Having a Facebook page is free. Instagram page is free. A website, you can probably get one for $20 or $30 a month. That's nothing, in my opinion. Yeah. Get those things lined up so that people are going to go to somewhere you want to drive that traffic.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And we talk about the website being almost like a destination, and your marketing efforts drive people or get them on that journey towards that destination, which is your website. So, if you're throwing a million things on your vehicle, everything in the kitchen sink, all the work that you could do for them, you are losing real estate for adding pieces of credibility in. And I actually just had this question in my last group coaching call when I said I was interviewing you, and they said, well, can you ask them, how much does it help to have all your accolades, the organizations that you're part of, the Yelp, find us on Yelp, find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook, like having those actual extra little trust pieces. What would be your thoughts on that?
That's a tough one, because credibility plays a big role. But what you got to understand is that sometimes some of it becomes noise as well too. So what I would probably do is, like, maybe if you say centralize most of your Google reviews as an example, and you're like, I've got 150 Google reviews and 125 of them are 5 stars, then say that. Say 125 5-star Google reviews or something along those lines. Like, that goes a long way. But what I would try to not do is, like, not put all of your accolades or your accomplishments or your certifications on your truck or your van, because at this point, it's like, are we just trying to show off like what you've accomplished? Because, like, I get those things are important, but the way people search today is this: they see your business, they're going to probably go to your website, and then from there they're going to Google you, and then they're going to see Google reviews. 4.7 stars out of 500 or whatever. Excellent. Then they're going to go to your social profile. These are all the projects, and they comment on people that actually comment, like they engage. And they're going to go to your Instagram. Here's the same thing. Looks about the same. So they're going to be doing what their journey of, like, kind of going up the mountain until they make the decision. So What I would kind of, recommend is, like, pick 1 or 2 things that you're like, all right, I'm really proud of all these Google reviews. I want to showcase this. That's awesome. Like, definitely go with that. Or if Yelp is your thing and you've got, like, we've got 100, because Yelp is tough, but we've got 100 reviews on Yelp and they're all 5-star. Then talk about that. That's huge, So
give them the source of where they can go to build more trust with you.
Correct.
Don't make it your rolling resume.
No.
Accomplishments. Yeah.
No, because at the end of the day, like, no one cares. No one cares of all the things that you've accomplished.
Yeah.
What they care about is what you're going to do for them today.
Of course.
And that's the part that, like, okay, you've got 5-star reviews, you got a website, you got a few customer reviews, you got a couple of testimonials, you've got these things, and then you call to make sure to confirm that all these things all really make sense. Like, you look professional because you got the van, the dude was wearing the same uniform, like, you look legit. And now I'm just going to call you to make sure you don't sound like you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And so, like, that's like the last piece. And so the idea here is that you want to tell the story to where they're like, okay, I trust you. I'm going to pick up the phone, or I'm going to send you a text, or I'm going to send you an email, and that's it. But what you don't want to do is almost be like better than, Right. And when you start doing that actually does the opposite, and it's something that I talk about a lot in marketing in general, is that when you communicate to your audience, you should be speaking at their level. And so, like, for Wrapmate, for instance, for us, we service, home service companies all the time. Like, that's like 98% of our business. Mm-hmm. So our communication style is talking like a home service provider. Our way of posting things on social media, the same way. We're not buttoned up like, a 3M or, a big corporation. I'm not knocking a 3M or anything. I'm not saying that's bad. We're not a Fortune 500 company. What I'm implying is that we are speaking to our audience as though we are equal. And so
Absolutely.
when you do that with your brand, with your wrap and your accolades and that sort of stuff, all of a sudden people are like, okay, you and we're almost the same. This makes sense.
Yeah, so you're basically, and I think it's more not from just like a visual standpoint, but more from a core value standpoint as well. As if I see a brand that looks like it aligns with my core values, that's the company that I'm going to want to go with.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, I think there are a lot of contractors who are out there in the world, especially like in the US. There's a new economy, there's things happening, and a lot of people are either on either side of the fence, either the sky is falling or they're going, hey, here's a really good opportunity. And we see this through these economic kind of situations where a lot of guys will fold because they're scared of the future, paving the way for more people to come in. So if you're a contractor who's in the US and you're thinking, hey, well, what does this mean? I would say double down. I'm saying find that $5,000 and wrap that vehicle now, because there's a ton of market share about to become available. And if you don't capitalize on it, someone else will,
Yeah. I can't agree with you more on that. I mean, this is the opportunity to, like, it's tough. Like we all understand, some people are going to start pulling back, but this is where things can grow and explode. And this is where you have a chance of capitalizing that. Like, that's something that I did when I ran my company. It was from 2008 to 2018. And
2008 was like the worst time you could have possibly have started a business. Yeah,
exactly. And I didn't know that. I literally signed my lease, opened the doors, or I take that back. I started doing build out in in March of 2008. The recession did not hit yet. I opened doors August of 2008. The recession was official in September of 2008. And for the next 2 years, it was complete hell for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had to fight tooth and nail, and to the point where I had to get everything dialed in. I had to get dialed in on my marketing, had to get dialed into my sales pitch, because every person that walked in that door, I had to close. Otherwise, like, I'd be closing my business.
Yeah.
And so the great thing about that is that tough times create, really great, tough opportunities and tough character. And I would actually venture to say that those 2 years of me fighting because of the Great Recession made me as a better business person. It also made me as a better marketer, as a better salesperson, because then all of a sudden you're strategic. You're not like, well, it's okay because I know someone else is gonna be coming in tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so, like, what's going on today, like, make that investment for that vehicle wrap. Start working on the future, because when you get out of this in the next 12 months, maybe less, maybe slightly more, but when you get out of this, you are going to have a brand that's going to be in a different perspective than everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, it's build it up, whether you're going to sell this business or franchise it later, build that brand now.
Yep.
Invest in that brand now to get it to that point.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, man. Like, I think a lot of contractors do need to get those concrete lessons where they fall off and they hit their face pretty hard and they go, oh, well, that sucked. I'm not going to do that again.
Yep.
We're not going to do it like that again. Which, as a business coach for contractors, I mean, I kind of help you cheat that system and shorten your learning curve. But it's not because I learned it in school. It's because I was a contractor of a multi-million-dollar business that we failed our way there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we failed our way. We have wrapped vehicles and then realized there was a spelling error on it later and had to rip that wrap off and be like, literally, the embodiment of stupidity when it comes to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, take Javier's advice here. Like, he knows, he's seen it, and I think there is a real opportunity for guys to invest in that wrap, know that it's going to have a good positive ROI, and it's going to be recession proof. It doesn't matter whether, if a recession pops up or something happens in the economy and you have to pull back spending on your social media ads or your Facebook ads or whatever, at least your wrap is there. It's paid for, it's done. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's a very good way of putting it too, is like, it's recession proof because it's done and it's paid once, and it's going to literally give you dividends until you rewrap it again later.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. How long typically does a wrap last on a vehicle? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Does it depend on the quality?
Yeah, so it does depend on the quality, but since we use 3M film at Wrapmate, it's going to be anywhere from 5 to 7 years. And so, the best way to kind of look at this is that most home service companies are only going to be keeping their leased vehicles or the vehicles for roughly 5 to 7 years,
right?
Maybe less. So it's in line with that. The other piece is that some folks don't understand is that if you lease a vehicle, they're like, well, can I wrap a vehicle that's leased? You totally can. Yeah. Actually, it's going to protect the paint so that whenever you return the vehicle from its lease, you take that wrap off, the paint's going to look prestigious. Okay. You're not going to have any kind of like dinks on, any kind of deduction on that piece. Now, hopefully the inside looks just as good as well too, but you kind of get my point there. But, yeah, that's kind of how we look at it, is 5 to 7 years. And that's about the average that most home service providers are keeping their vehicles anyways, because they're putting quite a bit of miles.
For sure. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't even realize this either. But if you're going to like a major broker for vehicles and buying something new, 9 times out of 10, you can negotiate the wrap into the purchase price.
Yep.
For me with Mercedes, but going and buying, $80,000 Mercedes Sprinters, for all of our vehicles, we always included, hey, we want it wrapped using our graphics that we'll provide you, and you can go to your supplier. And we also want our ladder racks and our shelving on the inside done for us too. Like these things are all negotiable for contractors at your dealership. They have contacts for this. And if not, then you can go to wrapmate.com. Their website's awesome. Easy to follow, and then you can get linked up with an installer in your city, which is great.
Yeah.
But stop putting the barrier up that it's so far away and it's not achievable. I think if your company has done anything, it has made wrapping more accessible and more affordable for the common guy, to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what the goal was, to be honest, because here's the thing is that, and this is not a knock on the industry, but it's a very antiquated and fragmented industry, okay? Right. These guys, these installers, they just want to put stickers on cars, essentially. Some of them don't really want to design anything. Some of them don't want to pull out measuring tapes and figure out how much square footage they have to print to design this stuff. Like, that's a lot of stuff that they have to do. I mean, imagine if like you don't want to do quotes, you just want to do the projects. And that's why there's always a quoter that goes around and gives quotes, and there's always the person that does the projects and stuff like that. But what we try to do is we try to make this whole thing streamlined. And so the idea here is that now you don't have to go to an installer to get an estimate. Now you don't have to go to a designer to get a design. You don't have to juggle 3 or 4 contacts to get this whole thing done. With Wrapmate, what you're doing is we know exactly how many square feet it is to do a Sprinter van that's a 2020 that you want a half wrap. We're like, okay, that's exactly X amount of square footage. And it's going to cost us X amount of dollars. And it is whether you're in Hayes, Kansas, or you're in New York City, it's across the entire country. We know exactly what it's going to cost. And it's not going to be more expensive, for instance, in Seattle or in New York or in Florida. Like that's the cost across the board. And then on top of that, what we've done is that we've worked with these installers where we say, hey, this is how we want you to install the project. Like this, put this panel first, put this panel next, make sure this overlaps this way. So we give clear instructions to our installers where it's literally like color by number kind of approach. Right. And installers love working with Wrapmate when it comes to that because they see that they're going to get a customer that's already paid for, that they have instructions on how to install it correctly, and they just got to do these things. They take a quick picture of it to make sure they've done it. We approve everything. The customer is going to be excited. The installer is excited because they got paid on a project that they didn't have to go source themselves, and then everyone's happy. So really what the goal was is to make this whole process just easy and more exciting, if you will, because there's nothing exciting about trying to find an installer to give you a quote and you're driving to 2 or 3 or 4 different places to see what it costs if you get a phone call. Again, not knocking the installers. It's just that some folks, sometimes they're just, underwater, or they don't have the systems to do that, or they don't want to do those things. Right. And so we're trying to centralize all of this experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're making it more convenient in order to speed up that process to get the wrap on the vehicle.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I typically tell myself that once something comes into my head, for every day I don't do it, I'm losing money.
Oh, totally. That's a good way of putting it, for sure. Yeah.
If I've already decided to wrap a vehicle, I'm like, I need to get this done as quickly as possible. Otherwise, for every single day, I'm losing out on a project that could have been $20,000 or $25,000 or $30,000.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And we're very systems based as well. Like that's what we teach. We help people systemize their businesses and complex operations so that they do run smooth like that. And sometimes just having the convenience of paying a little bit more to have someone do the legwork, to already source a good installer, to already, do the design and juggle the artwork and find out if it fits on the vehicle. it's a trust thing, right? Like, hey, just take this. I trust you. You're going to deal with it,
Yep.
and then I don't have to look back. And if it costs me an extra $300, I'm like, dude, come on, that's another, I can upsell that on a project,
Exactly. Totally. Yep. I love the way you think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think what do you think one of the biggest kind of bottlenecks is for contractors not wrapping their vehicle? Like, what do you think they're telling themselves in their head as to why they can't do it or why they shouldn't do it?
It's kind of like what I referred to earlier, is that they're just, they think there's all these pieces that they have to kind of get all in line.
Right.
They've, what happens to us is like, let me just start from the beginning a little bit. We'll get folks that come to us and they're like, I've got a logo, or no, I don't have a logo. And so I need to go contact the designer to create a logo for us. No, we can do that too. Oh, you can. And so that's going to be one of the pieces. That's that they might be relatively new. They don't have a logo. They don't know where to start. They have to go find someone on Fiverr or another third party. And I'm not knocking those things. Those are great. Those services are amazing, but that's just another thing that you have to do. Like, imagine if I had to find an HVAC person, and then I had to find like a person that knows how to work the duct work correctly, the metal person to source it, and then I have to find like an electrician to help kind of connect some of the things like that. Like, I don't want to be the general contractor to do HVAC. I just want to contact one person to do the whole damn project. And so that's kind of where I see that contractors are kind of lacking or slowing down from is that they think that they have to get all these other things lined up. They think they have to get the logo design first. And it's great that if you do, but if you don't, we can do it for you. And if you already have that, you don't have to get a designer to design the whole thing, because designing a wrap on something this small, is easy. Designing a wrap on a full scale vehicle takes like a very, very large print type of designer to understand that something that looks like it's 2 inches is really going to be 2 feet on your van. And that's not going to be pixelated when it comes out. Like, there's a lot of elements behind this that are tough. So I think some folks kind of think that they have to get all these other things lined up. And so what we've done is we've just streamlined and kind of, or probably a better way to put it is like we're vertically integrated, where we have all these things set up. And a lot of our customers literally from beginning to end can go, I would probably say roughly 4 weeks from putting their design deposit, which is 100% refundable. They put their design deposit in to where they get their final vehicle wrapped in roughly 4 weeks.
Right.
And so there are times whenever it's going to be a little bit longer because we have an influx of customers coming in and we have to fulfill those. But on average, we're seeing that happen in roughly 4 weeks, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more. That's still kind of amazing. Our ultimate goal as a company is to try to do that in under a week.
Nice.
And I know it sounds insane.
Yeah.
But that is what we're striving for, is to get it under a week, where you come in on Monday and by next week your vehicle is wrapped.
Yeah.
So that's going to be what we're looking for.
Instant return, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like when we start doing that, all of a sudden, like that allows us to service more customers that are always like, I got to get my vehicle wrapped. Kind of like how you're thinking is like, every day that I don't have my vehicle wrapped, I'm missing out on X projects. If we have more folks thinking like that, then all of a sudden we are helping them create that opportunity. Absolutely. And then they start seeing us as the only solution because we can turn things around. I mean, there's a reason why I only buy stuff from Amazon, because I can get it in 2 days. Yeah.
You can order a pizza without speaking to anyone and it'll be at your door in half an hour, right? Like we live in that instant gratification,
totally.
World, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Why can't wrap? Why can't having your vehicle wrapped be the same thing?
Exactly.
Why can't it be the Amazon of vehicle wraps? Why can a plumber not be the Amazon of plumbers? Why can, a HVAC guy or an electrician or, woodworker, whatever, carpenter, not be the Domino's pizza of that world,
Yeah.
Everyone should be striving for that.
No, I totally agree. And it's something that for us, it's a big goal, but we're working towards that. There's months where we've been well below 30 days and other months were slightly more. And so we're always looking to improve.
Yeah, I love that. Constant improvement, right?
Yep.
I do find that a lot of people that I speak to, and I've even had this thought myself before, the reason why we don't wrap our vehicles is because we like to cut people off in traffic. And we don't want to be tracked down,
Oh man. I get it, but like even then, like just be a good human being, man.
Yeah.
Like I've got my vehicle wrapped, and I know that we're a national company and we're a technology company, and you're like, why would you wrap your vehicle? we did a promotion, a couple years ago for Coach Prime to try to get his attention. So I wrapped my vehicle in a CU Buffs. That's where I went to, University of Colorado. It's like Coach Prime inspired. It's got Wrapmate logos on it and stuff like that. But as soon as I got that, not that I was a bad driver before, but like as soon as I got that wrap, I'm like, all right, I've got to be even more cautious. I've got to be, just make sure that I'm not doing anything stupid, and just drive straight and don't do anything dumb, and be just a good person in general, because people are always looking.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a good thing, because if anything, what that does is that it forces you to not just be a good driver, but just be a good person in general, because you're a member of the community. You should be a little bit, in a sense, like, I'm not going to say better than other folks, but you should be taking a step higher in pride of like, I'm a member of this community and I'm servicing my community. So therefore I should be representing my community the same way.
Right. Yeah. And I think you're totally right there, because communities will attach themselves to certain contractors. They'll be like, if you're in a cul-de-sac, you do 3 projects in a cul-de-sac, that's your guy. That's my guy. That's our plumber. Right?
Totally.
Like we had a kid at the door the other day that came to our house, and he was aerating lawns. And I said to him, I was like, hey, have you knocked on anyone else's door in this street? And he's like, no, just you. And I said, don't knock on, no, just go to the next block, man. We have our guy. You know what I mean? We have our guy. But it's awesome, because we take pride in the brands that we work with, very much like you would take pride in the Mulberry handbag that, that you're wearing, or the Snap-on tools, or the Milwaukee guy versus the DeWalt guy. Like, we associate ourselves with brands. And I think you're absolutely right, man. And I also don't think that you should have any shame whether you're a digital company in wrapping your vehicle, because that's you taking pride in your brand and showing, I trust my brand enough, and I believe in my brand, and I want everybody to know about it. And I have this saying, I say, you want to get more sales, you have to know more people, and more people need to know you. That's just one little cog in the machine there.
Yeah, no, totally. And what's funny is like I said, we wrapped our truck, or I wrapped my truck, and I think this was last year. I think right before Mother's Day, I took my kids to Hobby Lobby to get some gifts for my wife, and then this lady stops by, and she's like, "Is that your truck outside?" And I was like, "Oh God." And I go, it is. I drive an F-250, so it's a big truck. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it is. And she goes, that's amazing. I love it. I was like, oh, I thought you were going to be upset that I did something wrong. And she goes, I was looking for you all over the store. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
No way.
And so next thing you know, I guess her husband was an alum at University of Colorado. Where I'm getting to with all of this is that that created a conversation. It made people happy. My kids got to see that, we had a great conversation. Imagine if that was like an HVAC company that was a really cool wrap, and it brought some joy to somebody else, and they were like looking for that person at Hobby Lobby. And I wasn't trying to get new business, but my point is that there are ways in how this can actually really benefit you in different ways, where it helps build a community. It makes people happy. It makes people smile. It tells a story, all those things. I mean, we get neighbors walking by, and I'll be sitting outside, and they're like, can you tell me more about why you have your truck wrapped like this? And so I tell them the story and whatnot. They're like, that's really cool. And they're like, so you work for this company? I'm like, yeah. And we do wraps all over the country. Like, this is awesome. And they'll take pictures of it. Do I see where this shows up in social media? No. But that's brand equity that we're building in our community. Even though it's a small footprint, it's still the overall arching kind of approach.
Of course. Yeah, and I think there's a million stories like that. The one that springs to mind as you were saying that, how can a vehicle wrap inspire happiness?
Yeah.
Well, what does Coca-Cola do at Christmas time?
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. So yeah, I definitely get it. So it's just, I think we need to look at them as a different thing. Is it's not just a cost center, if you will. It's an investment. But if you know how to do it right, and you think outside the box, you're able to create something that's going to be, fun and unique. So yeah.
Absolutely. We'll start to wrap up here, Javier, but I did want to ask if you've got any crazy stories about wraps that just went completely viral, or if you've got any wrap stories that just stick out as being, story worthy.
I got a couple. So like I said, we wrapped my truck. So the full story behind this is essentially this, is that if you're familiar with Coach Prime, he Deion Sanders. He's the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. He took the job 2 years ago. That's my alma mater. I went to college there. They've been basically nothing for the past 20 years. They've been a joke. I've been a Deion Sanders fan since I was a kid because I grew up as a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Right.
And so when Deion Sanders went to Dallas, I was like, I'm in heaven, and this is my guy. So like, I've always, loved Deion Sanders. When I saw him, what he was doing at the HBCU college, I was like, all right, this is really cool. And then when I heard the rumors that he was going to come to Colorado, I'm like, this is insane. This is not going to happen. And then he shows up. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. First game, we win the game. And then like it was pandemonium, like 10 million viewers watching this college game. They're like, because it's Deion Sanders. And so myself and the CEO we're talking about this. Like we need to figure something out to leverage this media, because this is how do we ride this? So we decided to wrap my truck, and then we decided to wrap 25 other cars all over the like in Boulder, to drive around in Boulder. So we have a company that is our sister company called Wrapify. And they essentially do it's out of home advertising where they wrap like, cars that are promoting your brand or whatever it is. Like if you're Coca-Cola and you're driving around the Super Bowl and you're just having them go loops around. So we did that. We basically bought, we paid for 25 cars to drive around for like, I think 6 or 7 weeks in Boulder. And anyways, we got my truck wrapped. And then I started contacting media outlets, newspapers, news stations, radio stations. So we got 2 interviews. One in Colorado Springs and one in Denver. And they were all like actual good interviews that got, went pretty big. Right. And so we get a lot of earned media out of that because of what we were kind of doing. So that was one thing that really worked out of this wrapping my truck. The goal was to get Coach Prime's attention and then hopefully actually have like a picture of our truck with him on his social media platform. Like that was the goal. We went one level below that, got some earned media. So that was good. Something else that's been really fun is that we've done a couple of really cool projects. We have a partnership right now, or collaboration right now, with Volkswagen of America. Oh, and cool. So essentially what we did is we created a 3D configurator for the new ID Buzz. So if you're familiar with the Type 2 bus back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they brought that bus back, but it's electric and it's very retro-like. And so, so if you went to wrapmate.com/VW, you could see the 3D configurator. And so we created that for Volkswagen. And so now these folks that are buying their new ID Buzzes and they want to get like the two-tone, like kind of look what we all grew up looking for, the white and the orange and whatever, we can help people do that. And we also have other designs that we've created ourselves. And so this is a really fun program that we've done with Volkswagen. And it's gotten us quite a bit of media attention, out on the internet. And it's just really, neat because Volkswagen of America is one of the biggest brands in the world. Yeah. And to be able to have a collaboration with them to do this has been just amazing. They're folks that we talk to on a weekly basis and we're always trying to improve and have fun with. And then I think the last one is this was 2 years ago. We have also a 3D configurator for the Cybertruck. So I know the Cybertruck right now at the moment is getting a little hate, but before the hate, there was a lot of love about the Cybertruck. So we had a 3D configurator that we had, and we basically launched this thing and got a press release going out. Anyways, like the whole point is that we had like the site get over 1 million hits in like 36 hours. So we went viral essentially. Wow. And we happened to launch it on Elon Musk's birthday. And then somehow it got picked up on Twitter. That's like a big, influencer on there about electric vehicles and whatever. So we got a boatload of traffic from that. And then that's kind of how our site kind of like became what it is as far as the Cybertruck configurator. So my point being here is that we've done some pretty fun stuff from the actual vehicle wrapping to like great partnerships to something that just went viral by accident.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. And I think there is some hate on the Cybertruck for now, but I mean, I'm looking at guys like Alex Hermosi, Whistling Diesel, like some of those bigger players, and it's their thing is not a Lamborghini, it's the Cybertruck. Like it is that.
Oh man, we wrap so many I would argue that we wrap more Cybertrucks than any company in the world. Oh yeah, we've probably done close to 30 or so. Wow. And I mean, it's, and these like designs are like, they're slick. I mean, it's already like we already know that you know what a Cybertruck is going to look like. And then all of a sudden you have a wrap on that thing. You're like, whoa, this is really cool. That's like an attention getter for sure.
Oh, well, I think the car on its own is an attention getter, but then
totally
on there too, and you're double dipping there, you know? Like,
yeah, I definitely agree.
That's incredible, man. So yeah, obviously, like this is going to be the first step for contractors who are thinking like, hey, I've been holding off on a wrap, you know, but I know I want to do it at some point. Like, what advice would you have for them, you know, to move forward?
I'd say honestly, the easiest thing is contact Wrapmate. You know, like I don't want to kind of, you know, toot my own horn here, but we have made it easy to where we create designs and we give you a refundable deposit. So it's $299 to do a design for a vehicle wrap. If you love it, we apply that towards your investment. So we're not taking $300 from you and then just like, that was like for paperwork and stuff. Nope. We apply that towards the investment. If you get your design and after a few revisions, you're like, you know what? I hate this. I don't want this. Okay, great. We'll refund your money. So like those are design hours. Imagine if you as a plumber put work into a project and then all of a sudden you had to refund your money for the work that you just did. You know, like that doesn't usually happen in the service-based industry. And so design is the same way as well too. So we really trust our designers that much that, you know, we're willing to do that. So I would just suggest go to our website, you know, and just go through our little pricing tool. It gives you an exact price, and then we can kind of work within your budget. If you say, "Hey, my budget is only $2,000," no big deal. We know exactly what we need to do to get you exactly that budget, and these are the steps. And so our goal is to be consultative in this entire process. We've done this 1,000 times, you know, not 1,000 times, several thousands of times, where we know exactly what it takes. And so if you love the process and you want to go forward with it, excellent. If you're not, you're like, you know what, I don't want to do this. Great. You know, no harm, no foul. We totally understand.
Yeah. My advice as a business coach to anyone listening to what Javier just said is to find the money. Find the money to do the full wrap if you can. It's not a case of if it's going to pay back. It's, you know, how many jobs do you need to do? Yeah. Yep. It's like one job and it's done for a lot of these guys.
Exactly. You know? Yeah. That's the way I look at it too.
Yeah, and I had a bit of a play around on the website and too, and it is so easy. You know, it's too easy to go through that process and see how much it would cost and see what opportunities there are and who in your local neighborhood can wrap it for you. Yeah, just jump on the website. Like a wrap will pay itself off faster than any other market, and with a lot less confusion either as to when it will pay itself off. For sure,
I totally agree with that. I totally agree.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, this has been an absolutely incredible chat, and I would love to get you back on again in the future if we wanted to do more of an advanced conversation. You know, if we do get a lot of questions that come back from this episode, you know, in fact, if people want to reach out to you, like obviously there's the website, or if you have a team, like where can they find you?
Yeah, so easiest way is wrapmate.com. That's our website. We're on basically Facebook, Instagram. If you want to see our projects, like what we've wrapped, I would go to Facebook and Instagram. We post on there daily. And so we have a lot of content going on there from either customer stories and whatnot. We're on LinkedIn as well too, and X is just kind of, it gets lost. So we post on there, but don't look for us on there. But that's where I would go. If you want to get in touch with me personally, as just to kind of ask questions, I'm on LinkedIn the most. So you could always find me on LinkedIn and just literally type in my full name, Javier Lozano Jr. You'll see me on there. Like I said, I'm the CMO at Wrapmate. Been there for, I think, going on 3.5 years, so a long time, and been building something really fun. And I'm very active on LinkedIn, so if you DM me on there and you're not trying to pitch me something, I will respond, as long as you're not pitching me on something random. And so, yeah, that's the easiest way to get in touch with us.
There we go. Awesome, man. Yeah, and I'm sure a few people will take you up on that, but for the most part, let's not spam up Javier's, DM inbox on LinkedIn. Let's just go to the website and see what it looks like. And if you do need help to maybe budget out that wrap, to see what it looks like in numbers mapped out over the next 12 months, we have a really good program called the Bootcamp program, where we take you from absolutely zero. We teach you all the techniques that you're going to need for recruitment and hiring, budgeting, financing, learning how profitable you are. And we take you all the way through to mindset that you need to have in order to blow this business up. Reach out. It's super affordable. It's really easy to get on board, and you'll love the program that we've just designed for you too. So yeah, get involved, man. Javier, I do want to ask you one last question, and this is a bit of a habit of mine when I do a podcast with a guest is, who should my next guest be?
Oh, gosh. Are you looking for a marketer, or are you looking for
anyone that'll help a contractor? Who do you think the next guest should be?
It's a tough one because I'm in the digital world more than anything else.
I'd love to get Coach Prime on. I'm going to try and get him.
You know what? If you can get Coach Prime on there, I'm going to be jealous. Because man, I've done everything I could. If you can get anyone in the Prime circle, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll sign up for like Make-A-Wish Foundation or something.
There you go. I love it. it.
Yeah, man. No, like this was awesome. It was really good to chat to you, man. And you've got a lot of really cool insight here. You know, we get asked for this a lot. You know, like a lot. So this is really good, man.
No, I'm happy to have done this. This has been fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and if you ever do have clients in the Wrapmate world as well that maybe need support with coaching, I mean, I'm not trying to punt myself here to you or whatever, but
no, for sure.
You know, we have partnerships set up with, you know, Dulux, PPG, Sherwin-Williams, you know, a lot of these major vendors for these contractors as well. And we help people basically get to a point where they're buying more from their vendors. So you get some contractors and you want to see them buy 5 wraps over their lifetime, then yeah, let me know, man. I would love to, you know, set something up.
You know what we've done in the past, and this might be of interest to you guys. And Upfit Supply, you familiar with them? Upfit Supply?
Upfit, yeah.
So we have like a affiliate partnership with them. Essentially, they have a link on their website. It points to a specific page that we created for Upfit Supply. So it's like wrapmate.com/upfit, I believe is what it is. And any kind of transactions that go on from that page, we kind of give a kickback to Upfit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so like, I know that's if that's something that you guys are interested in doing, like we've done this, I think it's like Poop Scoop Millionaire. Have you heard of Poop Scoop Millionaire?
I've heard these guys. Yeah.
Okay, so we did something for them, and again, we created a page. One of our sales guys was on their podcast or like YouTube page or something. I forget what. Anyways, we're happy to do something like that for your clients. Like one way of looking at this is that like when we do like affiliate partnerships, we can either do like a kickback to you or we can pass cost savings to the customer.
Probably be cost savings to the customer.
And so if that's something that you want to consider, like we've done it with Spectora and there's a few other brands that we've worked with doing something like this. So if you're coaching a ton of folks, maybe that's the easiest way that you and I can help each other. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, we're a partner we're like an affiliate partner for softwares like Jobber, House Call Pro.
Yeah.
We're on Partner Stack as well, you know, so we're working with other guys like Nice Job and freaking Podium. And yeah, we work with a few companies like that, and we just basically make it part of our onboarding system when we bring a new client on. It's like member benefits, you know. Mm-hmm. So they would just click on like Wrapmate, and then they'd go off to your website and you would get the lead. But yeah, we don't take financial kickbacks. We only ever pass on that kickback or that discount to the customer.
Yeah.
We want it to be worth it, right, for them to join the program.
For sure. So like if that's something that you're interested in, let me know and we can kind of like discuss a little bit further. But that's kind of what we've done in the past.
Yeah, hook me up with your guy, whoever's in charge of setting that up, and yeah, we can kind of slowly put something together here, man. But yeah,
awesome.
It's been awesome, Javier. Thank you so much for your time, man. It's been a ton of fun.
Appreciate it. Good times. Thank you.
All right, dude. You take care.